The MTR to raise its fares by 2.3% later this year. Former Taiwan leader Ma Ying-jeou in Nanjing as part of his visit to the mainland. And in Israel, Netanyahu delays his controversial judiciary overhaul after mass protests and a general strike. Good evening and welcome to TVB News. The MTR Corporation will raise its fares by 2.3% this year, according to the new fare adjustment mechanism. The fare hike is expected to take effect in June.
The latest fare adjustment mechanism has a new element that's linked to the MTR Corporation's property development profit. The mechanism takes into account the nominal wage index for the last quarter of 2022, which rose by 3.6% year-on-year. The formula also takes into account the 2% inflation in December last year, as well as the MTRC's property development profit, which resulted in a 0.8% reduction in calculating the new fares. It also needs to include the 0.5% rolled over fare adjustment rate from last year and the 0.2% voluntary deferral in the formula. The overall fare adjustment rate for this year is plus 2.3%. This woman said the prices for all daily necessities are soaring and I can't do anything actually because I need to take the MTR. This man said, "Of course I'm unhappy. The MTR always raises its fares but never improves its services." Others, meanwhile, think the fare hike is normal as there is inflation. Still, the formula was criticized by lawmaker Michael Tian, a former chairman of the Kowloon Canton Railway.
Because the new formula is the same as the old formula with an additional consideration related to the profit. But that relationship is so minuscule that it's irrelevant. It does not include the recurring income, such as the rental they receive from all the shopping malls, the station shops, and the advertising revenue. So there are two things that they claim they have added, but the degree and the impact is just absolutely minuscule.
Lawmaker Ben Chan thinks the railway operator should introduce more discounts or concessions to offset the fare hike this time.
Chief Executive John Lee said today the government must press ahead with the development projects of the Northern Metropolis and Khao Yai Chau artificial islands. That's after Executive Council convener Regina Ip suggested there may not be enough resources to do both at the same time.
In 2018, the government proposed a $580 billion reclamation project on Khao Yai Chau Islands to build houses under the Lantau Tomorrow Vision project. The previous administration then launched the Northern Metropolis Plan to create 6 new development areas, including Kutong North, with no cost estimate mapped out yet. Earlier, EXCO convener Regina Ip said she thinks the Northern Metropolis project should be prioritized over the Khao Yai Chau plan, considering the limitation in resources. Chief Executive John Lee said today that the average living space for a Hong Konger is only 16 square meters, way smaller than that of Singapore and Shanghai.
Do we just stay stagnant and we not work for more living space? Why must we limit ourselves to the current living space standard? One factor is whether we have sufficient land for commercial and economic development. The rental costs of retail premises, offices and so on, are we competitive enough so we could beat others in this competition?
The chief executive also commented on other issues before his weekly executive council meeting today. That includes protesters being required to wear numbered badges around their necks during a rally on Sunday, a first since the pandemic.
We have experienced the black violence, which we all suffered in the 2019 and the follow-up troubles. So we have to be careful that any public gathering will not be either hijacked or turned into troubles that will cause not just inconvenience, but risk to public order, public safety, and also national security.
He added the police commissioner will review each public gathering to see what to look out for at future public rallies.
Former Taiwan leader Ma Ying-jeou arrived in Nanjing today on day 2 of his 12-day visit to the mainland. Ma began his Nanjing tour with a visit to Dr. Sun Yat-sen's mausoleum. He paid his respects to Sun, who led a revolution that ended China's last imperial dynasty. Ma then laid a wreath using the title of former chairman of Kuomintang, or the Chinese Nationalist Party. Speaking to the press after the visit, Ma said he hopes both Beijing and Taipei will work towards peace and avoid war. He added that people on both sides of the Taiwan Strait are Chinese people. Ma also visited the old presidential palace in Nanjing, where Dr. Sun was sworn in as China's provisional president in 1912. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has paused his controversial plan to overhaul the country's judiciary. The move comes after a day of nationwide turmoil, which saw workers join a general strike against the proposal and hundreds of thousands of protesters take to the streets. Daniel Rell tells us more.
The plans by Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and his nationalist religious coalition have ignited one of the biggest internal crises in Israeli history. The coalition is seeking to hand control over judicial appointments to the Prime Minister while giving Parliament the power to overturn Supreme Court rulings. While Netanyahu and his supporters say the plans would ensure a proper balance between the elected government and the judiciary and would not endanger individual and minority rights, they have drawn sustained and furious opposition. For months, hundreds of thousands of demonstrators have taken to the streets of Tel Aviv, Jerusalem and other cities to protest a project its critics say would destroy the checks and balances protecting Israeli democracy. Netanyahu, currently on trial on corruption charges which he denies, had previously promised the overhaul would not pose a threat to individual rights. The decision to suspend the overhaul followed an extraordinary weekend in which Defence Minister Yoav Gallant was sacked after warning the divisions caused by the plans had affected the military and were threatening national security. His dismissal by Netanyahu led thousands to take to the streets and Israel's President Isaac Herzog to call for a halt to the bid to push through the plans. The Histadrut trade union, the largest such organization in Israel, called a general strike that prompted flights from Ben Gurion Airport to be suspended and various businesses to close. The union said late on Monday that it was halting the strike in response to Netanyahu's delay. Following the move to pause the plan, political factions opposed to the Prime Minister have now begun setting up negotiating teams as they aim to reach a compromise. Daniel Rell, TVB News.
The head of the United Nations Atomic Agency said the situation at the Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant remains tense and that one day our luck will run out. International Atomic Energy Agency Director General Rafael Grossi told Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky during a meeting that he wants a safe zone around the plant. Zelensky insists that there can be no safe area as long as Russian troops are in control of the station. Nazvi Karim reports.
Ever since Russia's invasion of Ukraine 13 months ago, the Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant has been the focus of grave concern. The biggest of its kind in Europe, the station is under Russian control but operated by Ukrainian staff. The Zaporizhzhia region is one of 4 provinces Russia claimed to have annexed last year, after referendums largely rejected as shams by the West. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky described Russia's occupation of the plant as radiation blackmail. On Monday, Zelensky met Rafael Grossi, head of the United Nations nuclear watchdog in nearby Dnipro, telling him that the region can never be truly safe as long as Russian troops held on to the station. Both sides accuse each other of shelling areas near the plant. This amid fears of a water shortage and damage to the cooling systems, which could lead to a nuclear disaster. Grossi has repeatedly called for a safety zone around the plant. And the IAEA chief said the situation is not getting any better, with all 6 of the plant's reactors in shutdown and receiving the electricity it needs to prevent a meltdown through a single remaining power line. Also on Monday, Zelensky visited a Ukraine-occupied area of Zaporizhzhia and awarded medals to frontline soldiers. Meanwhile, top Ukraine military commander Oleksandr Syrsky said his forces are pushing back against Russian troops in Bakhmut, the mining town Moscow has been trying to capture for 7 months. He added that Russian forces may be shifting their focus to Adviivka, around 90 kilometers south of Bakhmut. Analysts expect Ukraine to launch a counterattack over the next 2 months as the weather improves and more military aid arrives from NATO allies. This is when German Leopard 2 and British Challenger 2 main battle tanks are likely to be deployed, with Germany's Defence Minister Boris Pistorius saying the vehicles could make a decisive impact in the war. Nazvi Karim, TVB News.
Still ahead on tonight's news. A mass shooting at a school in Nashville leaves 6 dead. Locally, police arrest 3 men in connection with a $10 million robbery at a Tsim Sha Tsui watch shop last week. And the Fire Services Department's new electric rapid response motorcycles enter service. Welcome back. America is coming to terms with another mass shooting, this time at a school in Nashville. 6 people were murdered, 3 of them were children under 10. While the community processes what happened, the country is grappling with another dark day of gun violence. David Garrett reports.
There is no sound on this CCTV footage, but the images are startling as the shooter blasts her way into a convent school on a Monday morning in Nashville. The perpetrator was 28-year-old Audrey Elizabeth Hale, who identified as transgender, seen here stalking the corridors with an assault weapon. Hale had attended the school. Police discovered plans at Hale's house.
I was literally moved to tears to see this and the kids as they were being ushered out of the building.
Emergency responders were called to the Presbyterian school at 10 a.m. The dead children were 9 years old. These lucky kids walked away hand in hand. The little girl asked what happened. Her mum can't find words, just a kiss and a hug.
They heard shots coming from the second level. They immediately went to the gunfire. When the officers got to the second level, they saw a shooter, a female, who was firing. The officers engaged her. She was fatally shot.
Relatives watched as police continued their investigation. One woman suddenly spoke.
Since we survived a mass shooting in July, I have met with over 130 lawmakers. How is this still happening? How are our children still dying, and why are we failing them? Gun violence is the #1 killer of children and teens. It has overtaken cars.
It's just, it's sick. You know, we're still gathering the facts of what happened and why. And we do know that as of now, there are a number of people who did not make it, including children. It's heartbreaking, family's worst nightmare.
As night fell on Nashville, the shell-shocked community consoled one another. A vigil was held. A memorial was set up where people left flowers and toys to remember the young victims.
And it only seems to happen in America. And it's going to keep happening unless something drastic is done. So I don't know what else to say about it.
There have been more than 100 recorded mass shootings this year. The exact motive here is being investigated as the debate over US gun law goes on. David Garrett, TVB News.
Back locally, police arrested 3 men after a robbery in a watch shop in Tsim Sha Tsui on Saturday. The 3 men aged between 30 and 43 were arrested in Sham Shui Po and Shangshui. They are suspected of being the robber, getaway driver, and the car owner, whose black vehicle is believed to have been used in the robbery. Valuables worth more than $10 million were taken from the store. The Fire Services Department has introduced 2 new rapid response motorcycles, the first electric vehicles used by the department. The motorcycles can travel a maximum of 130 kilometers after being fully charged. The 2 vehicles went into service today in a pilot project. Mimo Sangai with more.
Speed is always important for ambulance staff who are on a mission to save people. While ambulances are often fast enough to reach those in need, they may be stuck in traffic or can't get access to some locations. This is when the Fire Services Department's emergency medical assistant motorcycles can help. This is the rapid response motorcycle. As the name suggests, the vehicle is fast. It can go up from 0 to 100 kilometers per hour in just 6 seconds. They have a potential top speed of 130. They are also environmentally friendly.
There is no any emission, and then it is not required to replace the engine oil.
Zhang says the vehicle comes with some special features.
There is a LED display that can show to the EMM serial rider how many battery is remained, and then this vehicle is also equipped with 3 compartments, and then this 3 compartments can storage our paramedic equipment.
As to why the department decided to introduce electric motorbikes, Zhang says there are 2 main factors.
The most concern is the range and the charging capability. If you can imagine that it's unlike the petrol-driven motorcycle, we are required to have a round-the-clock service. If the petrol cycle is out of petrol, we only find the nearest petrol station, and then refill again. We need to ensure the vehicle will not hamper our operational efficiency.
Rapid response motorcycles will be in service in Mao Sha and Tai Chek Sha fire station and ambulance depots for 5 months before moving to other depots. Memo Sanai, TVB News.
To commemorate the 20th anniversary of superstar singer and actor Leslie Chung's passing, the Hong Kong Heritage Museum has put together a special exhibition to celebrate his life and legacy. The exhibition opens tomorrow and will run until October the 9th. Veronica Lin reports.
Adorning the walls are Chung's legendary songs and neon signs. As you walk through the museum, it's like a trip down memory lane, dotted with memories of a career that spanned over 2 decades. From bejeweled red high heels to his iconic white feather jacket, some of the items on show have never been exhibited before. It's also a reminder of the star's bold avant-garde style and how he broke down gender barriers both on and off the stage. In addition to stage costumes, also displayed are vinyl records, awards, interviews, and other pieces of rare video footage. Brian Lam, museum director of the Hong Kong Heritage Museum, says the exhibition was a labor of love.
Leslie has started in a number of the movies and films, so that's a very tough and difficult task for us to complete this audio-visual program production in a very short period of time.
Apart from contributions by his longtime partner Daffy Tong, the exhibition at the Hong Kong Heritage Museum was masterminded by 3 of Chung's closest friends, former manager Florence Chen, stylist William Chung, and renowned photographer Wing Xia. Chen hopes Chung's legacy will live on over the coming generations.
I hope with this exhibition and all the things they see, all the films and all the music video that they see, they will remember Leslie, and also for the new Leslie's fans, they have many things to recognize him more and understand him more on the career.
These memorabilia from Gogo, Leslie Chung's partner Daffy Tong and close friends shows the undeniable impact he had on Hong Kong's film and music industry. He's gone, but certainly not forgotten. Veronica Lin, TVB News.
That's the news. Thanks for joining us.